What's up, everyone? Thralls of Metal back again. I'm Shredlord.
Necrotic, Nick.
Jammin, John.
And we are very, very, very excited to finally bring you the long-awaited, long-anticipated discography ranking of black metal legends, Immortal. Now, this has been coming for quite some time, and we finally made it happen, and damn, it feels good, doesn't it, gents?
Perfect season for it. It's wintry, it's cold. I don't want to go outside for fear that I'll freeze to death, much like I'm sure life is in Blast Shriek or wherever the hell they're from.
We are now waiting on potentially a foot of snow to fall on us, so actually it worked out perfect.
Yeah, couldn't have been better timing at all for cold, dark iciness. We are in the midst of that as we speak. Hooray.
The sons of Midwestern dorkness, as it was.
I got into Immortal when I was probably a late teen through my good buddy Will. Really loved the imagery, the sound. Black metal was not something that I generally listened to at that time until Immortal, because I appreciated the way that they were kind of able to put it all together, and it didn't always sound like it was recorded inside of a Fisher-Price cassette recorder.
I got into them in, I want to say like early, mid-20s. I had heard like some black metal here and there, Dark Throne, some Emperor. And I remember going to Media Play, back when that place used to be around. Man, I miss it. But I was on a conscious effort to find some black metal. And I saw the cover of this album that we will talk about that had these 3 war pandas on it. And I was like, there's no way in fucking hell that's not black metal. I'm just going to go ahead and grab it. And yeah, the rest is history. And I'll even say, like, this band is probably the reason why I love my black metal with riffs, because there's nothing but riffs in this entire discography.
All right, Immortal and me. Really, to be honest, it was a cold night on January 7th of 2026. I sat down and finally started listening to the discography in preparation for this ranking. That is my introduction to Immortal. You guys all know me and my recent kind of affinity for black metal, and these guys wanted to do this ranking, and I sat down and said, all right, fuck it, I'm just gonna listen to all of it. And then I listened to all of it, and then here we are.
We felt like it was a good gateway to really pull John in. We thought if anything could get him into black metal, it would be Immortal, and I think we were right.
I mean, we got a lot of messages in the chat going, hey guys, this shit's pretty fucking cool. And we're like, yeah, we've known for years. Welcome aboard.
A lot of we told you so moments, but that happens sometimes. Chapter 1, Immortal. Now, Immortal is kind of the combination of 2 old bands. One would be Old Funeral, which many people know that had guys like Abbath was in it briefly, demonaz, Varg, a guy named Torre who would later do a project with Abbath called Bombers, like a Motorhead thing, and Jorn Tunsberg of a band called Hades Almighty, and then a band called Amputation. That was the other one. That was demonaz and this Jorn gentleman, but both projects kind of fizzled in and out of each other, and in 1991, with Abbath on bass and vocals, demonaz and Jorn on guitar, and Armageddon on drums, they formed the mighty Immortal. So before we go any further, I need to tell you that Abbath's full name is Abbath Doom Occulta, and demonaz's is demonaz Doom Occulta, but I'm not going to say that 1,000 times throughout this, so we will just kindly refer to them by their first names. Thank you much. Now, when these guys formed, they were originally more of a death metal band, kind of in the grain of Morbid Angel, Possessed. However, then they found some inspiration from a somewhat local gentleman named Euronymous from a band called Mayhem, and that really kind of influenced them to get into other bands such as Celtic Frost and Bathory, and that influence mixed with the death metal really kind of hardened into that blackened sound. All right, so pretty much about a year after they formed, they would release an EP. We decided to leave that out and just go right for the full length. So they did put out some stuff before the first album. However, the first full length by these gentlemen is July 1st, 1992 on Osmos Records, produced by Eric Hundvin. We have Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism. Now, by the time the debut came out, Jorn had already left, and it was automatically a 3-piece. To me, this was my number 6 album. Reason being, this album is fine and a classic debut. Honestly, for a black metal debut, I thought this was really, really solid. It's evil, it's cold, it has the minimalist approach to it that I like, because it almost at times gives it a soundtrack quality. Like they're really going for that atmosphere to suck you into this world, and I thought they did a good job of that. And for a debut, I thought this was killer. I put this at number 6.
Now, believe it or not, I also have this at number 6. I actually have a habit of putting debut albums at number 6. This is also at number 6. Correlation, maybe? I don't know. No, I really, like... So this is my first introduction to the band. I literally wrote down, okay, here we go. And it's not as bad as I thought it would be. I would make some minor tweaks in the production, like the clean melody over the riff on Cryptic Winterstorm. I think that's a little bit too loud. I would change the guitar tone maybe on Cold Winds of Funeral Dust. To be honest, I was fully prepared for this to sound like a hot bucket of assholes. I know that black metal kind of has
the MO of sometimes sounding like blurting assholes.
Yep.
Cold bucket of assholes. It is Norway.
Yes.
Yep. The Call of the Winter Moon, I thought, had a good stomp on it. The dark tremolos in Unholy Forces of Evil, I thought was cool. Sounds like there may have been some tuning issues in Blacker Than Darkness, but it's still a solid song. I dig the cold, dark, and the lightweight evil melodies that are on here. Black metal vocals have actually kind of grown on me over the years, and I have no problem with abbath. So for me, it's number 6.
I had this at number 7. I have it like a little bit lower just because there's other stuff I like, but I like this debut. First off, Call of Winter Moon, greatest black metal music video ever, possibly. It kind of takes the sting out of that whole evil vibe. Like, holy shit, they're just fucking trolling in a forest. It's so fucking goofy, but I love it. The song itself, catchy, a perfect vision of the rising Northlands. That is an awesome song. 9-minute epic. It really shows the potential going forward in terms of their songwriting, because songwriting, they have a lot of dynamics on here. Like, this isn't just tremolo and blast. There's cool riff harmonies. You know, the production, it's muddy, but I've heard way worse in terms of black metal. There's some really good thrashy, brutal riffs on here. Cold Winds of Funeral Dust. Blacker Than Darkness, which is a stupid fucking name for a song, but
it is.
Whatever. Mm-hmm. Unholy Forces of Evil. And a lot of groove. Armageddon is kind of a different kind of drummer in terms of black metal, because, again, the first thing you really think of, black metal is like, oh, blast and tremolo, and 95% of the time you're right. But Armageddon brought a lot of groove, a lot of like old school kind of heavy metal vibes to it. This is a solid debut. The only reason it's just a little bit lower is, you know, they did get better. But yeah, I dig this album.
Well, don't get too comfortable with Armageddon, folks, because after one album, he gone. So that leaves quite a conundrum in the Immortal house, but fear not, because abbath will now take over drumming as well. November 1st of 1993, once again produced by Eric Hunvin, we get the second release by these gentlemen, Pure Holocaust. And to me, I put Pure Holocaust at number 9, and I know that it is going to maybe catch me some flack. It definitely caught me flack with these two. My reasoning is I can see where they're going as far as the improvement and things. However, when we're talking about least favorite drumming abbath albums, this is it for me. And to me, it's clear as day. He is greener than ever on the drum set. And while the energy is there, no doubt, the songs just kind of miss the mark because of that for me. And nothing personal abbath, but I absolutely adore you when you stick to riffing. So for me, number 9.
For me, this is number 3. I love this album. One big thing is the shift in terms of aggression. Like, this is a much heavier, much colder, much darker album than the debut. It doesn't kind of have that old school heavy metal flair, but replaced is atmosphere and viciousness. Bob is still a good drummer. This is not my least favorite drum performance of his.
It's mine.
We're going to get to that. But
he can bass, he can guitar, he can vocal. Yeah. He can't drum. He cannot drum.
He struggles getting in and out of transitions, and occasionally he's off the beat. Like, all right, he caught up. There we go.
And occasionally he misses cymbals, and occasionally he just stops.
But
he might have been drunk when he was doing it, to be fair.
That's also fair. But he had more of his signature croak on here, like his vocals are developing. And in terms of like just vicious riff work, I think this is a big standout for demonaz, because at this point he was really handling a lot of the guitar work. Now the album cover does feature 3 people, and that third person is Grim, who played live on drums, and I imagine live it probably sounded a lot better. But the drum performance doesn't hamper it very much. Like, there are absolute fucking bangers on here. Frozen by Ice Winds, As Eternity Opens, Eternally Yours, On the Path to the Cemetery Gates, of course the title track. I just like how much faster and more vicious, like this is like more straight up second wave black metal. Like this is kind of on par with, you know, their contemporaries Satyricon, Mayhem, and I think they did a killer job on this one.
I also had this at number 3. I enjoyed this a lot, actually, because to me it sounded more like death metal, like black and death metal, and I have come to find over the years that I really like black and death metal, like a lot. Shorter songs, but there's more than just droning tremolos going on here. Like, I feel bad for Demonaz's picking hand. I really do. That guy is definitely cooking.
Well, he burns it out. We'll talk about that later.
Yep.
There's a little bit more to the instruments as far as sound is concerned without losing the overall vibe, which I dug. Frozen by Ice Winds, that song is catchy as shit. Cold, dissonant. I mean, here we go. Here we go with the dissonance. They were right all along, right? You can find dissonance in black metal, and here it is.
Absolutely.
Storming Through Red Clouds and Holocaust Winds is just an intense banger of a song. Eternal Yours, On the Path to Cemetery Gates, it's a fucking awesome song. A little bit of creepy atmosphere on As Eternity Opens. As the record trudged on, I just found out I really fucking liked it. It was something I even went back to while I was listening to everything. So, number 3 for me.
Well, onward we march, my cold and grimlets. And now we're going to go to May 15th, 1995 takes us to the release of the next album. This was also produced by good old Hendrik. And this would also be the last time that you hear abbath on drums. And I know everyone is sad, but it is true. This will be the last time he takes up the sticks. However, this is kind of an important album for the lore of Immortal, as this is the first time that Blashirk is really focused and centralized as a writing theme for Demonaz. Because one thing I should have pointed out earlier is Demonaz is a mastermind of a lyric writer, and he writes great lyrics and has always been the band's lyricist. And this is when he really started focusing on the land of Berserk, the mighty Raven Dark, and really kind of drumming up the lore. Battles in the North for me is number 4. I really like this album. To me, this was what Pure Holocaust was kind of supposed to sound like. Agree or not agree. But in the trilogy, man, I think this is kind of the strongest one for sure so far. And I think it's really cool. I remember seeing the video for Grim and Frostbitten Kingdoms. Hellhammer from Mayhem was in the video playing drums. Hellhammer from Mayhem would also end up doing the touring during this period for them as well. And yeah, this is a cool album. I know these guys are going to take a little dump on it, but don't let them fool you. You need to listen to it for yourselves.
I love Immortal, but I've always struggled with this album. This is number 10 for me. A lot of it comes down to clunky drum performance, like the clunkiest. Like, it sounds like he's just beating the hell out of a Fisher-Price kid at points. Yeah. The snare sounds like someone hitting the side of a house that has aluminum siding with a fucking stick. It drives me nuts. That, and of course, the off-time issues, and coming out of, like, turnovers, breaks. But a lot of the music, like, it's gung-ho. It's fast. It's super aggressive. But in terms of, like, the songwriting flash that you hear in the, previous 2 albums, this feels like it's just more go for the aggression up until you get down to Blashirk, Mighty Raven Dark, which, honestly, awesome song. The synths in the beginning are a little strange, but this showcases, better material to come. Like, it's a little bit more elaborate, a little bit more dynamic. A lot of the stuff is just really fast and aggressive. Like, it kind of just, like, I don't know, followed Pure Holocaust in just that sense. Like, let's just do that one again, except, make it less memorable, except for now we have, like, literal themes we could make a novel about, which I'm surprised they never did. I would actually buy, like, a graphic novel based on Raven Dark and Blashirk, or whatever the fuck it is. Blashirk. But yeah, number 10, like, I don't necessarily hate it. It has, some high points on it, but, I mean, dude, just clunky production, and I'm glad that abbath stays away from a drum kit from now on.
We can agree on that, yeah.
I had this at number 9. I was not a huge fan of this either. First of all, there's the butt-ass production that I thought there would be on a majority of this discography. It was not, thankfully. But on this record, I'm not a big fan, and you guys are all right. Everyone's right. Drums are not for abbath. Like, the man tried. Somebody had to do it. Somebody had to step in, and he decided to do it. And it's better than most people who can't play drums, so I'll give it that.
You know what? Ronnie Coleman said it best. Ain't nobody want to lift this heavy-ass weight. I'm going to do it, though.
Right? No, the snare does sound, though, like someone, like you got a piece of stretched out silly putty and you're just flicking it in the middle. That's kind of what the drum sounded like to me.
Maybe it was a sack. It could be a sack.
Don't rule it out.
Yep.
Stretch it out in the cold. It's all frostbitten and leathery. Blasty!
Yeah, the vocals sounded dry and painful. The guitars are about the only thing that sounded decent on this record. In spite of this, I like the evil descending tremolos on Throned by Blackstone. I thought that was pretty good. And then for a majority of this record, I kind of zoned out. And I'll be honest, like, there are certain things I like about black metal, and the sound of this, for me, is just not it. So, number 9.
So 2 years would go by in between the next records, and not too much has changed. However, change is going to be on the forefront, and we will get into that. So without further ado, let's get on to number 4 album of this discography. On March 20th, 1997, once again through Osmos Records, produced by Henrik Helland. This would be Blizzard Beasts. This would be the last album with any kind of a physical performance by Demonaz for quite some time. He would develop some really bad tendinitis and muscle issues, which really hampered him to the point where he really couldn't do anything. However, he would still continue to contribute lyrics and songwriting ideas, so on and so forth, which we will touch on later. And also, because Abbath so graciously stepped down from his throne, they had to bring somebody else in to fill the seat. And I'm kind of glad they did, because it felt like, how have you not found a full-time drummer by this point? Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on now. However, new drummer Horg, yes, Horg, he is brought into the fold, and thank goodness he'll be here for a while, so we're good there. But, yeah, Blizzard Beasts, I put this at number 8. This album is kind of what Nick was saying he felt about the last album. I kind of feel about this album. It was just super aggressive, super quick, in and out. Not that it was terrible, but the more super aggressive punk thrash just wasn't really what I was all about. So because of that reason, I kind of put it on the back burner as far as the rankings go. It's not bad, it's just that flavor just isn't my cup of tea.
I mean, it's under 30 minutes. Like, it's a quick album. I like this album because it's got like a little bit of death metal to it. Like, you get down to songs like Noctambulant, dude, there's a death metal breakdown riff on there. A lot of like Morbid Angel stuff. Like, it's like their earlier selves kind of came out to play back when they were just like into death metal. And this one ended up being my number 6. It's not perfect. It's still, you know, very raw. And there's some points in here where it can kind of feel like a little cluttered, but I like this different kind of aggression here. Like, there's some just absolutely savage riffs. Sun That Sank Below, Frost Demon Storm, Mountains of Might. Really solid melodies, too. The tremolo harmonies of Mountains of Might, I think, are awesome. Again, it can be a little sloppy, but I don't know, it's kind of like a fun sloppy, like kind of like punky and shit, and I like that. But yeah, this is just...
He likes it for this album, but he doesn't like it for the other album.
No,
Make
because,
it make sense.
Well, no, the production here is better, too. I like the sound of this album better. Battles of the North. Plus, drummer, better. Oh my god.
Definitely.
Abbath should just taking those sticks and throwing them in a fucking wood chipper. But yeah, number 6 overall. I think this is a pretty decent album. Again, it kind of stands out in their discography for like having some signature things, and I like that.
Now, I actually had this record at number 10.
Which is dead last.
It's dead last. I thought that perhaps the mix was pretty bad on Battles in the North. I was wrong. I actually find it to be worse on Blizzard Beasts. The vocals, I mean, smoke more cigarettes while you're gargling butter. That's where I'm at right there.
That's how you do it.
The guitar sounds like they put the amp behind whirring helicopter blades. And you got a new drummer, and I'm glad. And he is good, all right? But let the motherfucker in the studio. I don't even think they let him in the studio. The drums are fucking buried. Couldn't hear those at all. The vocals in Battlefields, to me, are just downright laughable.
They're funny.
I do like the song Noctambulant. I thought it was really cool. There are definitely some death metal tremolos going in there. Very Morbid Angel sounding. I, of course, latched onto that. I'm actually upset, though, that I listened to this record more than a few times. I was not a fan. And what's even more funny is as soon as this record ended, I was jamming all this on Spotify. As soon as this record ended, a song from Battles in the North came on, and I thought it sounded infinitely better than this album. So I mean, the songs aren't bad. There's some improvement going on there, but at the same time, I couldn't hear it for shit. And for me, I put it at number 10.
Well, yet another 2 years go by after this album, and the guys say, let's put out a masterpiece. Is that foreshadowing? I think so. So, one thing that makes this album really good is they switch producers. They bring in a gentleman from a little band called Hypocrisy. One, Peter Tagrin, who is a monster of a writer, guitar player, legend in the metal community. They bring him in. So a couple other changes that go on in this period is Demonaz, his hand is worthless, and as far as playing instruments go, it's not going to happen, unfortunately. However, he still decides that he's going to be an integral part of this band and process and continue to help write the music and write the lyrics with Abbath. So Abbath steps in on guitar, and for me, this is when Immortal becomes one of my favorite bands. I love Abbath. He's one of my favorite guitar players, period, as far as riffers go and rhythm dudes. The other thing is, this is the first album to not feature all of them on the cover. Normally, they do their little, what are we going to do today? This pose and that pose and that pose. This actually featured some really awesome artwork by an artist named J.P. Fournier, I think is French. So because of Peter Tagrin, the new edition of Abbath on guitar, we get February 22nd, 1999's At the Heart of Winter. This is my absolute favorite Immortal album. This is my number one. This, to me, is the perfect blend of riffs, thrash, epicness, coldness, anything you could want out of a black metal album. This album gives it to me. It goes from epic to atmospheric to intense to riff-tastic. I can't tell you how much I love this album. I still recall shoveling snow back when Nick and I lived together. We had a blizzard maybe, 7-8 years ago or something. And I just remember going out and putting that album on in the snow, just shoveling, and just nothing felt more appropriate, man. Still to this day, I find myself listening to this album tons and tons, but I will stop gushing over it so these guys can actually talk a little bit about it as well. I'm sorry, I digress.
Dead Nuts, this is my number one, too. I knew it would be going into this. I love this album. I would put this up on the, Mount Rushmore of black metal albums that I love. Nemesis Divina, Storm of the Lights Bane, De Mysteris. Yeah, it's in those ranks. The change in guitar work. I love demonaz. I think he does awesome, riff work.
He does do good.
But there's something about Abbath's playing. There's a little bit more epicness. There's more melody to it. But it still stays, dark and gritty. Legit, Withstand the Fall of Time, the best song they have written to date at this point. It kind of does laps around, almost everything they wrote before this. Not saying any of that shit was bad. It's just this was completely different kind of league in terms of songwriting. The melodic hooks on here are plentiful and amazing. Solar Fall, Tragedy Blows the Horizon, Where Dark and Light Don't Differ. The songs on here are bold, they're huge. They sound as grand as this fucking awesome album art looks. And that is legit the best album art I think they ever fucking had. There's one other one maybe, but it's Immortal, they're really not known for album art. Horg's drum work on here is much tighter. Everything about this band, they just got better. It almost sounds like a completely different band. Mm-hmm. They just kind of, I don't know, just got into a whole epic gear, but they still find a way to retain that older identity too. This album's fucking masterful. Number one, hard to compete. John, where did you have this one?
Please, tell us, John, after we just got done ejaculating over it.
Well, it's not that I'm not going to come all over this record, too. I just had it in a different spot. This, to me, is number 5. Now, again, remember, right? This is you guys' choice. No, I had this at number 5, but I am going to praise this album for sure. Right off the bat, we're in a notably more thrash-laden land. The production is far better. You guys see what happens when you let the drummer actually come inside the studio
and let Peter Tagrin produce.
Yep, far more melody, great thrashy riffs, longer songs, so we're going into a whole different territory here. Withstand the Fall of Time is a definite riffy banger. There's no way around that. Tragedies Blows at Horizon I thought was awesome. Where Dark and Light don't differ, although the timing seems a little off at times. I'm gonna let it go. The machine gun riffs are fucking awesome. Yeah, this certainly embodies a more melodic and more dark side of black metal that I am, definitely starting to get into more. For me, it sat at number 5, and that's not throwing shade on this album by any means. It's just other things I also liked a little bit better. Remember, this is the beginning of my journey, you fucks. All right?
How long have we been doing this? 7 years? Okay.
Right there. That's you can count that. That's 1.
7 years. Still beginning.
So, not long after a masterpiece was released by these gentlemen, they stepped back into the studio again with Peter Tägtgren at the helm, and on March 27th, 2000, through Osmos Records yet again, released Damned in Black. Now, Damned in Black is my number 3 album. This features the gentleman Iskaraya on bass. He will be here for a little bit of time, so you'll hear his name again, but he steps in to play bass. Damned in Black is amazing. To me, they went from At the Heart of Winter and went full thrash mode. It was insanely riff heavy, all driven by the riff, borderline Metallica at times. But yeah, I really loved it. And even though it didn't have as much as the black and atmospheric things that I also adore about Immortal, everything just seemed to be right on as far as the songwriting and the intensity and the riffing. I really love Abbath on guitars. Sorry, demonaz, I'm just gonna say it. I fucking love Abbath on guitars, and that's where he belongs when it comes to Immortal, for sure. The proof's in the pudding in my eyes. But yeah, the overly thrashness of this album really, really drew me in. And the title track, if there was ever a song to walk out into like the UFC or something to, that's a perfect choice, man, because that's going to make you want to pillage through an entire field of soldiers, gremlins, demons, whatever you want to fight. You will crawl right through them motherfuckers.
They all live in Blashreek.
I actually had this record at number 2. I fucking love this album. While I still might tweak a little bit in the mix here and there, it doesn't harm it at all. The whole album shreds. The songs flow really well. I know you mentioned Metallica, but I gotta be honest, man, Slayer wishes they sounded this good. Intense riffing, entertaining drum work. I don't even mind the synths. The drums sound incredibly natural, and I gotta be honest, I actually dig the more raw sound. Like, it seems like they dialed back a little bit on the warmth and went back to being cold and icy, and I really like that. Wrath from Above is a catchy as fuck song. In Our Mystic Visions Blessed, the crawling riffs in that song are fucking awesome. The title track, the bridge on there with the dissonant harmonies, it was a banger. And when I first sat down with this, it initially was going to be my number 1, and then something overtook it. But I love this record. I've jammed this probably the most, I don't know, 8-9 times since we started doing all this. So yeah, a banger of a fucking record.
I had this at number 5. Yeah, it's a little bit lower, but I've always thought of this one as just like their kind of Black and Thrash or Black and Death Thrash album. It almost could have been like a separate project. I don't care either way. I love the riffs on here. My Dimension, dude, the title track is such a fucking banger. Horg's drum work, which he is pictured here sporting his Norwegian Intercontinental Cult Wrestling belt, is absolutely savage. In Our Mystic Visions, particularly aggro. Again, I like the thrashy bitiness. There's still a little bit of that cold atmosphere on it. But a lot of this is just riff first, atmosphere, and blacken anything later. Like, they could have even taken off the corpse paint on this one and been like, you know what? That's fucking fine. Yeah, this album is a banger. It's just a little bit different in terms of their discography. Because again, this one just feels like the start of another era after they just started off another era. There's nothing on here I would call epic. But everything on this album I would call heavy as fuck.
So, after the thrash banger Damned in Black, something big happens. A very large upcoming metal label takes notice of them and decides to sign them. That record label would be, of course, Nuclear Blast. And with Peter Tägtgren alongside yet again, on February 4th, 2002, through Nuclear Blast Records, Immortal releases The Sons of Northern Darkness. This would be the last album with bassist Iskaraya. He actually stated that he only played bass on one track on this album, which was the track One by One. So perhaps they were kind of in a hurry to get him out of there. Abbath ended up taking care of the bass duties on most of this album. And yeah, this is my number 2. I think this is a fabulous album. At first, this was number 3. I have to admit that Damned in Black was 2 and this was 3. However, going back and re-listening to this a few more times really cements that this album is almost perfect, like In the Heart of Winter, in the sense that it combines all of the beautiful flavors of Immortal into one hell of a recipe. It has epic moments, it's headbanging, it's really just a great conglomerate, once again, of all their influences and styles, and this album kicks a horse's ass with a belt.
I also have this at number 2. This was my first Immortal album, and I fucking still adore it. And there's probably a little bit of nostalgia that plays into this, but I don't care, because the first 3 fucking tracks, like One by One, the title track, and Tyrants, I think are 3 of the best songs they've ever written. This album has that balance. It has all that thrashy goodness from Damned in Black, but it has that epic vibe that's on At the Heart of Winter. The riffs in here couldn't be better, I don't think. They're just so fucking catchy, dude. One by One is just such a banger of a song. It was awesome seeing Abbath put that one in a set for MDF 2024. I think it was 2024.
Yeah, and it was actually in the Tony Hawk Project 8 soundtrack as well, for all you Tony Hawkers out there, old schoolers.
The songs are dynamic. They stand apart from one another. I love that little hitch in the drum intro for the title track. Got hyper aggressive songs like Demonium, or whatever the hell that is. It's some rare element that's mined in the mountains of Blashreek, of course.
Well, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
There's only one place you can find
their
it.
main export, I'm sure. Beyond the North Waves, Within the Dark Mind. I mean, literally, every track in here. I think this is just a quality album. And honestly, I'd say this is a great starter black metal album. This has gateway album kind of all over it, because it's still savage. It still embodies all the cool black metal tropes, but it's catchy. It's melodic. It will stick in your fucking head.
And that's why I had it at number 1, to be honest.
Our starter black metal guy right here.
Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
Hello. Yeah, I just thought this was the more beefy and more refined version of Damned in Black, to be honest. The Machine Gun Triplets and One by One, I think are fucking awesome. And the song Tyrants, I actually knew that song. I knew it going into it, and it's probably because I heard Abbath play it at MDF last year, which makes total sense. That's why it's stuck in my head. But, yeah, whole record comes out swinging. I actually hear some At the Gates influence going on here. Yeah, Demonium, or however you say that, I think that track is just straight death metal, and I fucking love that as well. The chuggy breakdown in My Kingdom Cold, loads of rad tremolos, harmonies, melodies. The album is pretty savage in itself, and that's why it is number 1 for me.
So, around 2003, the boys in Immortal decide to take kind of a hiatus. Perhaps success has burned them out. Whatever the case may be, they decide to kind of do this hiatus for quite some time. During this time in 2006, Abbath comes out with an album he calls the Project I, releases an album called Between Two Worlds. Nick and I actually did a retro review on that. Pretty solid. It was kind of adventurous, I think, for Abbath. It allowed him to kind of showcase some different sides of metal that he enjoyed and do a little bit of a different side of him. But really, that was pretty much all that really happened in that time. However, we would get good news in 2008 that Immortal would not only get back together, but we would be getting an album. So, once again, through Nuclear Blast Records, and of course, you got to get Peter Tägtgren back. Got to bring that boy back, because he's been an amazing producer for you guys. On September 29th, 2009, we finally get the long-awaited comeback album, All Shall Fall. This album would feature a one and only time appearance with a bassist known as Apollyon, and unfortunately, this would be the last album with Abbath before he inevitably leaves and he's gone forever, which makes me very, very sad. All Shall Fall is my number 5. My opinion is this. It's a solid album, but for as long as we waited for this album and as much time had lapsed between these albums, it seemed very safe. It was the incredibly safe play. I don't think they took any chances and showcased maybe anything new or exciting or anything to the mix. It just felt like a very old formulaic thing of, this is what we do, here's the riff, here's the coldness. And while it worked, it wasn't always that exciting from time to time. So to me, the album's just kind of there. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just there. I do appreciate that Abbath's on guitar, because you're going to hear me say it again, the best Immortal for me is when he is on guitar. But still, even with Abbath at the helm, I felt like this album kind of underwhelmed a bit. So, number 5 for me.
I had this at number 7, and I totally agree. To be honest with you, I think they just kind of missed the mark coming off of Sons of Darkness. It has a lot of melody to it, but there's not a whole lot else there by way of these songs. I mean, there are a couple moments, like the machine gun thrash riffs in Hordes to War, I thought was pretty cool. The creepy start to Unearthly Kingdom is kind of neat. Rise of Darkness has some cool tremolos in it, but first of all, these are the vocals that I used to troll. One of the things that turned me off to black metal over the years, and one of the reasons I never got into it, was because the vocals to me sounded like Gargamel trying to, destroy a Smurf village. If I wanted to watch that, I'd watch the Smurfs. But in black metal, that's kind of what it was to me that turned me off about the whole deal. And the vocals in here are what I used to troll. It's not a bad album, but I just personally think that they missed the mark on the sound that they were trying to go for, especially coming off of the last album. So number 7 for me.
This one's number 8 for me. I remember being absolutely stoked for this. I got it the day it dropped. I saw the artwork. I thought it was sick. And the last time we got artwork like that, we got an absolute fucking banger of an album. And then I saw the video for the title track, like, oh, this is all right. Why is Abbath dancing like that? Oh my god!
Because he can move and shake, baby.
A lot of like hip prancing and shit. I don't know. But when I got the album, I mean, I initially liked it, but it's really kind of fallen off for me. Like, it just feels like a safer version of Sons of Northern Darkness. Guitars feel lighter. They feel way more reverby. There's a lot of leads, which is cool, but a lot of the riffs feel very similar, like in terms of a riff palette on this album. There's not much. Like, pretty much the ones you listed off, like Hordes of War, Unearthly Kingdom, Rise of Darkness, and the title track are like the big, like, standouts. The rest of this, it's not bad, but it feels less than. And even Abbath's vocals, like, he's trying to be more melodic with this more melodic sound, so you get this tuneful croaking, which it's not great. Like, it reaches for that epic vibe, but it never really kind of like nails it. Not a terrible album, but I mean, this kind of felt like a bit of a drop off, especially with the long wait between albums. Like, I was pretty fucking hyped for this, and it was all right.
So after this time, probably around the early 2010s, 2013, 2014, demonaz comes out with a solo album. Nick and I also reviewed that as well. After he puts that out, Abbath comes to him and says, hey, we're all going to basically be in a lawsuit to see who owns the name Immortal. Chaos would begin to ensue between those two. Those gentlemen, who were once very close, now end up getting into a bitter court battle, which we will talk about as we go forward. So after Abbath leaves and the battle starts in court, demonaz decides to continue on with an Immortal album, and once again gets Peter Tägtgren. Once again, Nuclear Blast puts it out, and on July 6th of 2018, demonaz releases with Immortal Northern Chaos Gods. demonaz picks back up the guitar for the first time in many, many years. So it is cool to see him because, once again, for many years, he was a songwriter and a lyricist, but could not play anything due to that terrible tinnitus and muscle issues. So he picks back up the vocal duties. Horg is still in the band and continues to play, but Peter ends up filling in on the bass for this. So that's kind of cool. Peter Tägtgren ends up playing bass. This is my number 7 album. I mean, it's a solid album, and honestly, I got to give it credit. It was a little bit better than I expected. For me, the driving force of Immortal has always been my love of Abbath, and with him not being here, I didn't expect much, but it was still solid. I just feel like when he's not in the fold, there's something missing, and that just is why I don't feel like, and I don't know if it is subliminal or whatever you want to call it, but with him not there, I just feel like something's missing, and maybe that's why I didn't latch onto this album as much, but number 7 for me.
I had this at number 4. Actually, I remember picking this one up. I heard one single, was like, dude, that sounds absolutely vicious, because I would say this is among their heaviest albums. I remember playing it for you, and you're like, I don't know, man. He's not there, and I can feel it. He just had this sad, forlorn look in your eyes, and I was like, dude, stop it. There's riffs. This is heavy. This is dark. This is evil. This is Blashrick. At the gates to Blashrick, at least, because that's one of the songs. This one, I honestly, like, I didn't know what to expect. Like, okay, we've had abbath, like, writing all these killer riffs for years, but, you know, demonaz has always been part of the songwriting. But he came in with an absolutely just destructive, menacing, dark album. Like, this kind of brings back some of that darkness that was in, like, pure Holocaust and shit like that. But it's more refined. It's more dynamic. You know, there's still big melodic hooks. There's still a lot of groove. Like, it's still not all just blast beats. But, man, the aggression on here. Title track, Into Battle Ride, Where Mountains Rise in particular. Just vicious, snarling songs. And demonaz's vocals are really solid. His work on his solo album, well, you saw the review, like, it wasn't that dynamic, so it didn't give me much confidence going into this one.
It was the same song every
track. Song. But this one, he really just kind of, like, honed it all together, and he delivered an absolute banger of an album. I think this album is really underrated and kind of, you know, overlooked just because of, you know, all the fucking legal bullshit that happened before it.
I also had this at number 4. Now, I didn't really dig a whole lot into the history when taking these notes, just battling work and all that shit. I was like, you know what, I just want to take notes and get this going so we can actually do this ranking. So, you know, all legal battles aside, I guess we'll put it that way. Starts thrashy off the rip and never really leaves that kind of aggression. Like, it's blasty, it's full of machine gun riffs. The title track is a fucking ripper. Into Battle Ride, gnarly machine gun triplets. The songs are catchy, they have loads of dynamics in them. It's just riffier than shit. And I thought it was pretty heavy, and I really enjoyed it. So number 4 for me as well.
Mighty Raven Dark.
Mighty Raven Dark, dude. Blacker of Worlds.
I will say that demonaz does do a good job when it comes to his style of guitar playing. He can riff, and he does a good job of setting the blackened atmosphere. That is his strength, for sure. He can summon a mighty atmosphere. I will give him that.
And a Raven Dark.
And a Raven Dark. Half a Raven Dark.
Well, part of a Raven Dark.
So, of course, after this album is released, the lawsuit intensifies, which then leads drummer Horg to finally leave the fold. Aw, sorry, Horg.
My buddy.
We liked you. You were a good man. Lawsuits suck. Go ask Dino and Burton. They lost basically all of their money in a lawsuit. So yeah, they suck. So basically this thing almost becomes a demonaz solo project, and I say almost, but it is a demonaz solo project at this point. No Peter Tagrin. I don't like that already. The guy has been money for you every time. But they enlist Icedale, who is well known from Enslaved, great musician. And on May 26, 2023, they released The War Against All. Now, as far as playing goes, demonaz does the guitar playing. He does the vocals. Icedale also does additional guitars, bass, producing, and then they enlist a young Kevin Cavale. I'm sure I'm not saying his name right. That's okay. A young session metal drummer to come in and play on this album. And so it's kind of like a bunch of hired guns. Personally, this is dead last for me. This isn't Immortal anymore. This lawsuit has kind of ruined this band in the sense that it went from having two really strong creative forces that worked really well together, even though they didn't get along very well a lot of the times. But now it just feels like a solo project. And while it's not terrible, it's definitely not Blashirk to me, man. It's part 2 of the demonaz solo project. And to be honest, I would rather listen to anything abbath has been putting out than this.
Yeah, I had this record at number 8. I kind of agree in the sense where it's not bad, but to me it sounds like it's missing its identity. You know, to me it doesn't really sound like it carries the Immortal name anymore. It's just a collection of pretty straightforward songs, and I mean why even bother putting it out at this point? Like, it's not terrible. A couple of the songs are decent. You know, the riffs on War God are solid. The title track actually honestly is kind of a beast of a song, but I mean really beyond that, it's just a record put out by a dude. Like, to me, it doesn't sound like Immortal anymore. And so for that, it's number 8.
It's not War Against All. It's War Against abbath and Horg. But
legal war.
Yeah, legal
to the courtrooms of Blashreek. Yeah, I'm kind of with them. This was number 9 for me. To me, this almost kind of runs like a mid to later Bathory tribute album. Like, a lot of the stuff feels like it's like, all right, very Viking-esque. It doesn't have like that cold, dark, sinister presence that I mean, literally was on the last album. Like,
Yeah.
again, Northern Chaos Gods was vicious and dark. This one feels, again, like more
Safe.
safe, aspiring to be epic and more melodic, but, kind of an identity crisis. I will say that Nordland here, the big instrumental in here, I do like that song. I think it's a well-written song. It's pretty hooky. War God was all right. Thunders of Darkness has got some good blasty sections, but I feel like this is stuff that you could find in a lot of different black metal bands that aren't Immortal. Like, there's nothing on here that feels signature Immortal, honestly. Outside of the cover with the Demon Mountain thing, that's really about it. That and the name. Yeah, and this is kind of where we're at right now, too, like, in terms of waiting. We reviewed this last album, and we were both stoked to go over it, and then we listened to it like, that was a thing.
It was a thing that happened.
It's sad that it's come to this, and who knows what the future holds, but regardless of that, I will say that Immortal is my absolute favorite black metal band. Once again, I have mad respect for Abbath. I love his playing, I love his style, and I love Immortal's style. Because when they were firing on all cylinders, they had some of the best that the genre had to offer. And, like any creative project, these guys just had their differences and went their separate ways. So I'm glad for the music that we did have, that they've given us while they were together, but right now, I don't have much hope for the future as it's kind of just a solo project until further notice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure demonaz could probably recruit some other people. I mean, I think Horde kind of dropped off of, like, most of his projects. He's not even in Hypocrisy anymore. But we still have Abbath. His solo career's, all right, 2 good ones and 1 really bad one, but still 2 good ones.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows? There's a chance that we get, like, an absolute banger of an album. Like, I kind of trust in demonaz's ability because, again, Northern Chaos Gods was absolutely just vicious. Maybe he needs to be in a fucking bad spot battling with ex-bandmates and current bandmates to, really channel some anger and some darkness again. Who knows? Either way, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They're only 99 cents, and our lone perk is doing a members-only live stream, which we will eventually get around to. Again, we got to figure out, like, schedules and such. They are kind of shifting right now, but we will do them. And memberships are the main way to support the channel, so if you would like to join up, there's a join button down there that you should just punch because it's there, and it was talking shit about Shred's mama, and we don't stand for that shit. No.
Yep, that is a solid reason to punch that button.
Mama Shred is a saint!
Normally I would say you don't have to punch the button, but it is talking shit about Shred's mom, and I love Shred's mom.
It's easy.
Can't do that.
Easy.
Yep, see?
It's all right.
Calm yourself.
It's all right.
They're gonna punch the button. If you don't, though, it's all right. We do tons of non-members only stuff, non-members only live streams, discography rankings, much like the last one we just did. I think Obituary is up next.
The mighty Obituary.
Fucking sick. I actually can't wait for that. Beyond that, album reviews, discussion forums, Nick's never-ending collection updates, all metal all the time. We also have a giveaway going on. We are somewhere in the neighborhood of hitting 25,000 subscribers, and once we do, we will give the lucky winner a stack of awesome CDs that Necrotic Nick won't give to me. They are that awesome indeed. If you want to go ahead and enter, when you open up Thralls of Metal on YouTube, the very first thing that plays, whether you like it or not, is the giveaway video. All you have to do is simply comment on that video, and when we hit 25,000 subscribers, we will put all the names in a comment randomizer, and the lucky winner will walk away with a bunch of cool shit.
And last but certainly not least, we want to take the time to thank each and every one of you. Thank you from the bottom of our cold, grim, true, and blackened hearts that you take the time out of your day to watch our content, interact with us, leave your opinions, make comments, and just be social with each other. When we started this, we never could have imagined that it would take off and be this cool, and we have each and every one of you to thank. So thank you once again very much.
Thanks is Krieg. Use our Krieg. And we will catch you later.